Hello, disc golf fans, and welcome back to another edition of Running It with Nate Sexton. I am your co-host, Jarett. He is disc golf's current, reigning, defending king of Las Vegas, Mr. Nate Sexton. Nate, how are you, man?
Oh, that's a good intro. Wow. I'm doing well. I'm doing better now that I realized I was the king. That's cool.
Yeah, well, I think anywhere else, it's just like champion or guy who won. But in Las Vegas, it's king, man.
Yeah, they do it big. You're right.
Yeah, I'm just getting excited for the season, and I was just looking at it, and I know Vegas is coming up in the end of February, and I thought to myself, can't wait for that one. So, huge weekend here, Nate. Let's talk a little football real quick. You went 50% today, or this weekend, excuse me. The Buffalo Bills did win. The Seattle Seahawks did not. So 50% for you, not too bad.
No, I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm not like we discussed. I'm not heartbroken over any of it, but it was too bad, from my fellow Washingtonians. Seahawks weren't able to pull it out, but it's all right. And I think it was the first Bills playoff win in since the 90s. Am I right?
25 years for the Buffalo Bills.
So that's a long time coming. They're my pick now. I want a Super Bowl for Buffalo.
Yeah, I would also like that. It would be very exciting. So, I was watching those games, and obviously I know you've got family here in Buffalo, and 50%, not too bad. Now, before we get started, let's handle a little bit of business, and let's tell everybody again about our friends over at Fisher Disc Golf, home of the disc stacks. Fisher's been a wonderful supporter for us here at Running It with Nate Sexton, and we already spoke a lot about the things that they're doing. Guys, check out FisherDiscGolf.com. They offer 18 different brands of discs. They still have about 20 of those holiday boxes remaining. Now, these boxes, they include a limited run of 100 Les White, EMAC Truth, and Junior Sheriffs, and one of those boxes contains a dynamic Recruit Pro light basket. So check those out at FisherDiscGolf.com. And as always, free shipping. So whatever you're looking at, you don't have to worry about it costing you a little bit more. They're going to send it out to you with free shipping. Levi and Adam over there are just doing a fantastic job. And in fact, for being a listener of Running It with Nate Sexton, you guys are going to get something a little additional. Nate, what do they have to do to save 10%?
You got to use our code RUNIT10, and it's pretty easy. You just get that 10% off. All you really need to know, they've got all the major brands, and the shipping's free, and they're a friend of the show. Pretty easy decision. Go get yourself a new disc.
Yeah. Who doesn't love getting a new disc?
I love it.
Nate, when I first started watching disc golf, I dug kind of through the archives and got in the rabbit hole on YouTube. And one of the things that I noticed right off the bat was it didn't hurt to be named Nate. And I think today's show pretty much shows that as well.
Yeah. I think it's I use that hashtag saying it was the greatest disc golf name of all time. And there's a lot of guys that are helping to make that true. But I think the flag bearer for the name Nate is the guy we've got on the show tonight. It is your 3-time world champion, 1-time United States champion, surefire Hall of Famer, Mr. Nate Doss.
Oh, well, first of all, I got to thank you guys for having me, but I also got to say the Bills, that's a good story, but the Browns, that's another big story, and I got 2 people in the other room that are cheering those Brownies on. Val and Sharon are over there watching the Browns play, and they are kicking butt right now. So
Nice.
Thanks for having me, guys. And, I don't know about all the Hall of Fame stuff, but it's certainly been a good run so far. And I'm happy to share the name Nate with the great Nate Sexton as well.
You're too modest, man, because I do know about the Hall of Fame stuff. I mean, you don't have to wait much longer, I don't think. But, yeah, man, go back a long ways. I'm excited to have you on the show. I mean, I knew that we'd get you on eventually. We're only in episode 7, but definitely one that I've been looking forward to doing because it's like not only has COVID stopped us from seeing friends as much as we'd like, but then with the brewery and you getting that started, it's like double the length of COVID since I've really had a chance to kind of rub elbows and kind of catch up with you. So I'm excited to do that right here on the show.
Yeah, it was great to hear your voice when we got on right before the show. And of course, I do the best I can to keep up with everybody through social media, and and then of course you live up in Washington. I got a few friends up there, and they're always filling me in on what's going on too. So
yeah,
it's good to be hanging out with you. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. How's everything been? I mean, I gotta figure, brewing is maybe an okay business. in the middle of a pandemic. You probably had some shutdowns with your patio and all that, but overall, you're kind of back at it now, aren't you? A little bit.
Yeah, I mean it's such an interesting experience that we've gone over the last, well, let's call it 2 years. It was January 25th of 2019 that I brewed the very first batch at Bevel Craft Brewing. So almost 2 years here in about 15 days. And the first year was just filled with a lot of the unknowns and just getting the doors open and having the grand opening and then figuring out how to operate the day to day. And by the time we hit January of 2020, we had really felt like we had figured that out. We were ready for the next step. And then, of course, COVID hit. So I think, for me, there's no way I could have ever anticipated that this was going to be something that I was, A, going to have to make decisions about, but also B, how fortunate we felt that our business opened when it did. I mean, and I feel so bad for the businesses that opened either right before COVID or had to delay their openings. But, we've done okay currently here in the state of Oregon. And I know Oregon and Washington are pretty close. Our patio is open 100%, but our indoor seating is 100% shut down. So at this point, we're very thankful to the weather gods, as we always talk about in disc golf, for the good weather we've had so far in the late fall, early winter, and we've had a lot of people sitting outside. So it's been a great run, been a lot of fun, and very thankful for it.
Any snow yet, or not too bad up there?
We've had a good kind of run of days that there was a little bit of snow, but then it warmed up and it melted right away. So here in town, it's dry streets, but the mountains have been getting pretty much crushed. It's been a weird kind of wet, warm season so far, but I think we even have like a day of 50 coming up here in a few days here in Bend, which is so not normal for January.
Yeah, that's warm for sure. And just a little geography lesson for those of you who maybe aren't from the Oregon or the Northwest. I was born and raised in Corvallis, which is about 3 hours from where Nate now lives with his brewery and his wife Val. In Bend, and it's kind of like the high desert area of Oregon. So Bend is like, I don't even know, maybe 4,000 feet or something, somewhere in there.
3,600 feet.
So it's sort of a snowy spot compared to where I'm from, but I used to go to Bend all the time as like a, high school, middle school kid for like snowboarding and cross country skiing and things like that in the winter. So it's kind of like a winter sort of resort town feel a little bit, though it is getting a lot bigger now.
Yeah, definitely. We just drove by. Speaking of cross-country skiing, me and Val were just cross-country skiing just a few days ago in that same area that me, you, and Bree and Colin and we all skied. And coming back into town, there's a big, Bend city limit sign. And 91,000 people now live here in the city of Bend. When I first moved here, it was like 78,000. That was 8 years ago. So it's grown leaps and bounds, and we're a tourist town for sure. In the summer just as much as the winter. But yeah, it's a fun place. A lot of outdoor activities going on, but it's a lot different. We call it the wet side and the dry side. It's a lot different from Corvallis here in Central Oregon.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got all those Californians moving up into Oregon now. That's the problem.
It's so funny because I'm one of those people. I mean, I moved here 8 years ago, and I moved up here basically because I couldn't afford to live in California. I was born and raised in Santa Cruz. Obviously love Santa Cruz. My parents have since moved. They moved here 2 years ago. My mom couldn't stand to live too far away from me, but nowadays, and COVID just accentuated this. So many people being able to work remotely or forced to be able to work remotely. They said, I'm out of the Bay Area. I'm moving to Bend. I love that place. I want to ride my bike every afternoon and go skiing in the winter. So, yeah, it's grown really fast.
Plus, I mean, it doesn't hurt that you could probably sell your 2-bedroom and get a 5-bedroom, like if you're coming from the Bay Area, like the real estate is out of control.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this again, talking real world here. I mean, the real estate here in Central Oregon is out of control. I mean, you
It's
cannot
going
buy a
big too.
house. Yeah, you can't even buy a house without walking in with a check basically and saying, I want to buy this house. And it better be, 10 grand over the asking price. So it's
Yeah.
going kind of gangbusters.
Yeah, it's definitely a growing area for sure.
So beer, Nate, was this a passion of yours? Was this something that happened by accident? Everybody's asking. I got a million questions. How did you become this this master brewer that you are now?
Well, I mean, it's a long story, and I don't want to run out of tape here or anything like that. But very simply put, being the touring disc golfer that I was, and got all those years to spend traveling around the country, I just had a lot of opportunities to go to a lot of restaurants, bars, breweries, things like that. And for a while, it just seemed like anytime we came into a town and said, hey, where's the happening spot? Where should we have dinner? They'd always go, oh, go to such and such brewery. And, so we were always hanging out in them. And to go even just a hair before that, in 2000, let's call it 2008, basically, I had not even, I was only, just a few years over 21. I turned 21 in 2006. And I didn't even drink craft beer. And my father-in-law, my future father-in-law, didn't know that at the time. Val and I weren't even dating. I was in Ohio. We're hanging out. Leroy and me are waiting at this restaurant at the bar. We're ordering a beer, and I'm going, hey, do you guys have Corona? That was the only beer I really knew to order. And he looks over at me, goes, Corona? And he goes, and hey, this is an uncensored show, I'm assuming. If not, you can bleep this out. But he looks over at me, and Leroy never cursed. And he goes, man, do you even know what a fucking hop is? And I go, what is a hop? What are you talking about? And he goes, Corona, forget it. And he ordered me a beer, and it was a Dogfish Head 90-minute IPA, which is a double IPA. It's 9% in alcohol and hopped continuously for 90 minutes. And it's out of Delaware. And it was like, whoa, this is great. The flavor was like, boom, it just blew up in my mouth, and it was amazing. And I think ever since then, I just enjoyed beer. But it wasn't until we visited all those breweries, and Leroy, again, Val's father, who passed away, he was so into beer, he made his own, and he passed that along to me. And my mind is an engineering mind. I loved seeing the beer move around the breweries that we would go visit, and all the pumps and all the pipes and all the tanks. And one day I was looking for a hobby, I guess, because disc golf, it's funny. A lot of people, and Nate, you can attest to this, when you become a professional disc golfer and you say you put everything aside and you say, I'm going to do disc golf, well, you basically just took your hobby and made it your job.
Yeah.
And it becomes not quite as fun on the bad days. Of course, it's really fun on the good days, but you kind of want to put it away on the bad ones. And so I needed a hobby, and homebrewing became that hobby. In 2012, I homebrewed my very first batch of beer in the driveway of the Jenkins family in Ohio. And it actually was the weekend after the 2012 Worlds in Charlotte when Paul Macbeth won his first world championship. So it was kind of the ending of one era and the beginning of another for both of us. And
Yeah.
I remember that first batch of beer. I said, man, I'd love to open a brewery. This would be really, really cool. And 2012 is when that was, and we opened the brewery in 2019. So a lot of things in between, so many opportunities doing collaboration beers with wonderful brewers. It all started out in Vermont. Jeff Spring and Matty O from Fiddlehead Brewing Company said, hey, let's brew a beer for the tournament. And so I got a chance to work at Fiddlehead Brewing and brew a beer with those guys. So many great opportunities with so many wonderful breweries. And now I own and operate a brewery. It's kind of surreal at this point.
Dream come true.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, if you were to ask me 10 years ago if I was going to be
Sure
doing what I'm doing, I would have said you're nuts. But Yeah, I don't think at this point, really for me, I think the biggest thing that I take away is how much Val and I get to work together. I mean, we own and operate Bevel together, along with Justin Selmer, who is a disc golfer originally from Illinois and lived in Arizona, and most recently, before Ben, lived in Denver, Colorado. And we get to work together every day and come up with plans. And I think it was a good transition from the touring lifestyle that we had before.
How many beers have you guys done now? And I hope you know that. Hopefully I'm not putting you on the spot, but
Well, Tuesday of last week I brewed my 118th batch. So that was
wow.
Every batch of beer we do, the counter goes up. So 118, and then Tuesday, so not tomorrow, but the next day I'll brew 119 and 120. We're doing a double batch on Tuesday. But individually, I think we've done 44 individual beers.
Wow.
Yeah, so anywhere from different IPAs to different stouts, or different types of beers that we've done. And it's my life. I mean, it is my life on a day-to-day basis. Just planning, ordering ingredients, planning the beers, moving the beer from this tank to that tank, or kegging beer, or brewing beer, or paying bills, doing this, that, or the other. The one thing that I don't have to do is actually bartend at Justin, and we have 6 employees now, along with Val. They take care of the tap room, so it's I'm lucky in that sense, but it's a full-time job, that's for sure.
Yeah, and
So
by all accounts, going pretty well, right? Because I just saw you guys won some awards.
Yeah, again, well, I personally wouldn't consider myself modest, but I personally was voted the best brewer in Central Oregon through our local magazine called The Source Magazine. And it was a vote, it was a kind of a popular vote type of thing. And so that was pretty cool. And we also won a silver medal in a worldwide beer competition called the Best of Craft Beer Awards that we won. We won that back in February. So it's, to me, it's like how it was in disc golf. The tournament, the wins are certainly something that you put into the happy column at the end of the day, but you just keep your head down and you keep trying to get better and you keep doing your job, you keep working at it. And I take that same mentality that I had as a professional disc golfer and put that over at Bevel. So of course I'm so thankful for the awards, but I just want to keep getting better and keep doing the best I can.
That's awesome.
So what you're saying is anybody who gets a beer from Bevel Brewing Company, that beer has been made by world champion disc golfer Nate Doss. You're not just sitting up in a high office watching people doing it. You're switching this beer around and you're actually making it yourself.
Yeah, literally the 118 batches. I have had my hands on every single batch at every single portion. I mean, we're talking fully from grain to glass. And back in November, we transitioned one of our bartenders to start helping me in the brewery, and he had experience in a brewery down in California. He was our very first employee that we hired as a bartender, so he's been starting to help me out, and I think eventually in a couple of years we'll hopefully have transitioned to him doing 100% of the brewing operations. But for now, it is 100% really a part of me, every single beer that we make.
And how soon, where are you guys at in terms of like canning? I know you guys ship it around Oregon only, right? At the moment?
Yeah.
And are you planning to eventually go bigger, or what's ideal for you?
For 5 years, we wrote a business plan, Val and I, and then we brought Justin in, and we all kind of had different visions of where we saw the brewery going. For me, I'm very passionate about keeping the beer as close to the tap room as possible. I mean, it's so easy to say, oh, well, or I guess to judge a brewery on its success by, well, how far does the beer get away from the brewery? Is it canned? Is it bottled? Is it at this bar? Is it at that bar? But I really take kind of pride in the fact that it's hard to get. You got to come visit us here in Bend. You got to come see the tap room and hang out. We've been doing really, really well. we've grown as steadily as we can. But I think for me, the real vision is to keep the beer as close to here as possible. The craft beer world is very, very competitive, and there's a lot of big breweries with a lot of money. And so for us, we just want to kind of keep it close and do the best we can. The shipping around Oregon thing is that the state of Oregon allows breweries that are in the state to ship directly to the consumer. And so we've shipped about maybe 20 boxes, and each box has 3 crowlers in it, to people here around the state of Oregon, and that's been pretty fun. And we've canned, I think, 7 different beers, and that's been fun as well. But at the end of the day, we're a small brewery. We don't have a lot of space, and we got to just kind of keep it as simple as possible.
I mean, that's fine. That's cool. I think I like that idea of it too. Just that it's kind of like a something to look forward to if somebody's coming through the area, or it's something that locals can kind of hold up as a source of pride. Like, yeah, this is something we like, and we have Nate here, especially disc golfers, because it's kind of like this weird mix of like, you're almost like a celebrity brewer in the eyes of of disc golfers. Where you're going to be like having recognition for what you've achieved on the course, along with what you're achieving with the business. So I think it's a cool way to go.
Well, yeah, thanks. And it's always cool. For me, unfortunately, I start work most days before the 6 o'clock hour. On brew days, I start at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I finish around noon or 1. So I'm not, I don't always get to see everybody, but most of our bartenders are either avid disc golfers or now love disc golf, and we've all kind of ingrained that in all of our employees. But yeah, it's just cool when disc golfers get to come visit. We're selling Bevel branded discs right there on the wall, and it is cool, man. I think we just want people to come visit.
I mean, I want to take it back. I want to talk a little bit more about some of my early memories of meeting you and being around you. And it was kind of like, as I started getting kind of good and becoming a pro, I just remember like my very first USDGC, definitely Japan. When I went to Japan, I just remember being there with like you and Dave Feldberg and Avery Jenkins and Val, and you guys kind of like showing me the ropes of different, the way the tour worked, and fond memories for sure. Just thinking back to all those times, and even as early as 2005, I remember you were at the Amateur Worlds, and we've talked about this Amateur Worlds quite a lot because we've had Yuli on the show, we've had Macbeth on this show, and talked about all the people that played there. And I know you got a funny story that I'm hoping you'll tell about remembering those 2 Pauls when you had been flown to Flagstaff, because you were right off the heels, like as a 20-year-old, right off the heels of winning your very first world title, 2005 in Pennsylvania. And then Discraft is bringing you out there to the Amateur Worlds to like sign autographs, right?
Yeah, so I had won the Worlds in Allentown, Pennsylvania. You're right. I was 20 years old. I mean, me and you are so close in age. You would know as much as I would. And basically, Arizona is kind of a discraft land, for lack of a better term, with Dan Ginley down there in Phoenix. And Dan was the person who was running the tournament in Flagstaff. And we had played the Pro Worlds in Flagstaff 2 years before, in 2003. So I was familiar with Flagstaff. And Keith Murray from Discraft called me up and he said, "Hey, we want you to come out to Flagstaff, and we want you to do a signing during the Fly Mart." And I said, "Great. Hey, I'm 20 years old now. I'm a world champion, and I'm getting flown into places. I mean, 2 weeks ago, nobody cared what I did, So it was pretty cool. And so they flew me out there, and again, 20 years old. I had not really traveled alone that much, and they flew me to the Phoenix airport, and I had to take a bus from the Phoenix airport up to Flagstaff, and then I was waiting in the bus depot. They picked me up, and then they said we're going to do the signing, and they had a bunch of minis. So, and it's a really cool story. If any of you out there that are listening have ever watched it was a DVD, but I think it's on YouTube now, of the Worlds in 2005. When I tap in the last putt, Terry Miller, of all people, the disc golf guy, comes running over to me, hands me a box. And I opened that box, and there was 13 magnets with full-color Nate Doss 2005 World Champion on it. And they had shipped them to Terry 3 days earlier and told Terry, hey, if Nate wins, give them to him. If they don't, destroy them. And there was only 13 of those. I numbered all of them. I signed them, and I gave them out basically within 24 hours to all the people that were really close around me. There's only a couple of those out there left. Val was one of those people that got one because she was, again, me and Val didn't even start dating until late 2009, but we were just friends, and she was there, and I gave her one. So anyways, they made replicas of these on mini Ultra Stars. So it's a little bit of a bigger mini, and they made like 500 of them. So I was sitting in a room, and I was signing them, and people were coming through, and, hey, Nate, great job, blah, 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 and then, this, and I don't know what the order of it or anything was, but, some of the juniors come in, and I sign once, Paul Ulibarri, okay, here you go. And then this other kid comes in, it's Paul Macbeth, oh, yeah, here you go. And as the night was starting to wind down, and I probably only had about 50 or 100 minis left, here come Yuli and Macbeth coming back. Hey, Nate, can I get another one of those? Because I was giving them out for free. It was like for free, one for everybody. I'm just signing them, hanging. And these two kids, they kept coming back. They came back like 3 or 4 times. Hey, Nate, can I get another one? And I'm going, oh, my God. These kids are so annoying. I mean, and at the time, of course, they weren't Paul Macbeth and Paul Ulibarri. They were just 2 kids that were there playing the juniors. And I always take pride in that story because it's not like I was that much older than them. It just, they were probably 15. I think I'm about 4 or 5 years older than those 2 guys. And they were just kids that wanted to meet the world champ. And it was something that they wanted, that they aspired to be. And then, of course, while Ulibarri hasn't won his world title yet, I know that he's never going to stop until he does. We know what Paul Macbeth's done. So it's a fun story. And I don't know, Nate, you remind me, did we ever meet that weekend? Or
I mean, I got one of those minis. I don't know about meet. I was like, I didn't come back twice. Let me tell you that.
Okay.
I went in there. I got my mini for sure, though. I was in the line to get in there and get one signed and meet the world champion.
Oh, I love that.
But I don't know that we had really met before that. You
were there competing in amateur? Or?
I was caddying for Bree, and she actually won. That was when Bree won the junior girls. And that's the whole story, which we've told on this podcast before, but that Macbeth's very first round that he ever played PDGA was that tournament, and he was just like the odd kid out in his division, so he was on Bree's card. So the first PGA round he ever played, I was there like caddying, going like, "Hey kids, your turn." So just kind of a funny, just all the connections that you realize later, But yeah,
I gotta tune into that Macbeth. I gotta hear that story. I mean, that's an awesome story, man.
Yeah, cool. It was cool, and just then kind of putting it together later and going, "Oh yeah, man, that was you. That's cool," and then then we ended up touring together for so long, and
right.
I even remember driving through Flagstaff late at night. It was my 30th birthday, and we went through 2 time zones. So I stayed 29 2 hours longer. Like it was like almost midnight, and then we're like coming up to Flagstaff, and like, oh sweet, I'm still 29, and we were driving. It was me and Paul like ripping through Flagstaff, like, hey, remember when? Like way back. It was cool, like 10 years later.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, Nate, when you won that first Worlds, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were working a regular job during that time as well, correct?
Yeah, and in fact, I was in college. So 20 years old, I'm living in Santa Cruz, living at my parents' house, and I was a college student. And I just recently, I was actually playing around at De La, and one of the people in the group was saying, "Nate, you're in school?" "Yeah." "Oh yeah, I'm going there for computer science." And this guy who was just kind of hanging around the parking lot goes, "Oh, I own a company and I need a computer. We need a computer person. Would you be interested?" And I said, sure. And 5 months later, I won the world title, and my life was never the same. But I did actually work as an IT professional all the way from 2005 until I had my official retirement party that Avery and Val threw for me in February of 2010. So I was an IT professional for 5 years, and when I retired, I managed about 75 mail or file servers. Do a lot of database servers, but yeah, I was deep into the server management world in the Bay Area. And in 2010, Val and I had started dating. Avery had left Oregon. Him and Dave were graduated finally from the University of Oregon, and Val and Avery convinced me. They said, "Hey, you got to give this your all." I was about 25 years old. They said, "You got to just give it a shot. Go see what it's like to live the day in, day out tour lifestyle." Because at that time, from basically 2005 until 2010, I was in and out on air flights. I mean, I was coming in for the weekend, flying back, going back to work. I would leave work on a Thursday, fly out to a tournament, or on a Wednesday, fly back on a Monday, and be right back on work on Tuesday. And that was really a big decision in my life right there around 2010 to go full out. And, my life was never really the same. The tour lifestyle was a little bit more difficult than that fly in, fly out, because I could always come back to Cali, hone my game, and I would always show up to tournaments just at the peak of my game. But when you're on tour, it's a different mentality. And so, leaving that job in 2010 and going 100%, there was definitely a big learning curve. And, but I'm very thankful that I did it, and I wouldn't have traded it for the world.
Probably a little easier to do considering you were like literally the number one player in the world.
Yeah, I mean, in those days, being the number one player in the world, it was kind of a weird thing, because you got to remember, in 2010, we were on kind of the heels of Ken Climo and Barry Schultz really starting to transition out completely from the open division. And you had Dave and Avery, Dave Feldberg, Avery Jenkins, that were sort of in that middle ground. Now, Avery's 6 years older than I am, and so is Dave. And so it's like they were kind of the top dogs, along with a few other players for sure. And then there was me, and then there was just a slew of players that were that 4 or 5 years younger. And so being the number one player in the world was something that never really stuck for me, because we were all battling. It was every weekend there could be this person or that person winning. There was so much parity in the game right there around 2010, before the young guys really started to take over. And so I never really felt like the number one player in the world. I always felt like I had that little chip on my shoulder. I always felt like I really wanted to continue to get better. And I always had Dave Feldberg and Avery Jenkins that were just 6 years older than I. They had more experience. They were the guys, and they were always there ahead of me. And so I always felt like I had to try to surpass them.
Yeah.
You probably had that same feeling.
Yeah, I think a few years later, because I mean, even though I am your senior by 13 days, we should probably get that out in the open. We're very close to the same age, but yeah, I definitely wasn't at that elite level yet when I was 20. I was just kind of you were quicker there. Maybe, I don't know. You probably started a little younger than I did as well, but yeah, then a little bit later, a couple years after you, I suppose, then I kind of was rising up to be in that kind of place where I could think about winning big tournaments and make big grand goals and actually not being insane for thinking that I had a shot, to win something. But yeah, definitely Dave and Avery were big influential guys at that time, and knew it all, had seen it all, as far as the tour goes.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll say this. I mean, now, what year was it that me, you, and Dion stayed in the same that 3-bed hotel room in Rock Hill?
I would guess.
Was that your first USDGC?
No, but Dion definitely came after me. I went in 2005.
Okay.
I want to say that was probably 2007.
Okay, 2000. That makes sense, because I definitely didn't win that year. So it probably was 07. And I remember Dave and Avery telling me, hey, you're going to stay with these two kids from Oregon. I mean, at that time, me and you didn't really know each other.
No, not well.
Yeah, and so they were like, yeah, you're going to stay with this Nate Sexton, and oh, they're really good guys, and you're their same age, and we had a great time. I thought for sure, and that was that was our first interaction. And for you, you were just such a consistent player, and you were so thoughtful when it came to your preparation and the way that you played around. You weren't always just 100% pedal to the metal. I'm going for it. You were the guy that would even say out loud, hey, I might lay this one back, or, oh, I might lay this 20 or 30 footer up. And I think in those days, we probably cracked on you a little bit about that. But I think fast forward all these years later, and I think that it's really paid off, because that thoughtfulness over 10, 12, 15 years of experience is put you still at the top, right there with everybody. So I think that's pretty cool to see that development.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know, it's like people always will say, oh yeah, I play safe. And it's like, it isn't as calculated as that, as it seems maybe. Because to me, it feels like, well, I can't throw it over there, or like that won't work for me. Like if I think, oh, I could just hammer it through here and go over the trees, and my power is okay. It's not like gonna blow your mind, but I throw it all right. But yeah, it's not even. It was like more of just like just the same decisions anybody's making. Just like what's the play that's gonna yield me the best score. But I embrace it. Having that reputation now and being kind of like a course manager or whatever you want to call it. I definitely am like, I like that feeling of like going and playing this scary course that everyone said is so hard, and just picking the 2 or 3 hardest holes on the course, or the scariest ones to my game personally, and going, yeah, par will be fine, and just take so much stress out of my life. If I'm like, my goal is par on that super scary island hole, that like, if your goal is birdie, you maybe catch yourself skipping ahead and thinking about that hole 4 holes before you get to it. Because you're like, man, that wind is going to be tough when I get to 17. Oh boy, So I feel like that's paid big dividends for me, just personally, to keep my stress level down in those big tournament situations. Because I'm like, yeah, go ahead, try and birdie it. It's fine with me. Like if my competitors try, because like a lot of them will bogey it, some will birdie it, but I'm definitely going to par it. And just like having that mentality, I think helps me.
Yeah, I mean, that's so well said, Nate. And what I can say is that right around when I was getting ready to leave, so right there, the middle part of 2018, disc golf had worn on me like it does most players. But for you just seem to continue to have a passion and a love for the sport. And I think it's because of those reasons, because of the way that you think about your game and the way that you play. And so I honestly, man, we haven't seen each other in quite a while now, but I just it's been a bummer not been able to commentate any of your rounds over the last few years, and hopefully I get to commentate a couple of these ones that you're playing in this season.
I hope so. You got to play good to get up on that Nate Doss commentary card. You got to be up there at the tippy top, but I'll do my best.
I know it, buddy.
Yeah. How do you like commentary? We can't skip that. Both of us are kind of known for that now. How's that been doing the live thing?
Oh man, it's crazy. It's kind of weird. It's like, to me, the commentary is almost, it lives in a vacuum. And we always say things don't live in a vacuum, but for me it does. Because our commentary, we've done all of them from a little tiny room in our house, in the house that we rent. And, we basically built a studio in there. And it was the first show we did, Val and I together. We had a sheet on the back of behind us, and that was a big hubbub. But, we really live in a vacuum. I mean, we put the headphones on. Johnny V shows us the round and tells us, hey, we're going now. And we just call it. And so I don't even really get to experience the interaction on the course or hear from the players. It's always just interviews and, Mo or Johnny V or Jamie or somebody filling me in on what's going on in the disc golf world. But on honestly, Nate, and I would ask you the same question, but honestly, for me, man, it's been fantastic. And really, since opening Bevel, I could not be more thankful for commentating, because it has kept me in disc golf in a way that I don't think I would have been had I not done it, or if I didn't do it. Um, because at this point, I felt like I was at all those big tournaments. I felt like I was right there with those players, and I can still talk about who's the best in our sport, who's playing well, and I enjoy that. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I love doing it as well, and I'm really thankful that DGPT got you to do it, because I think, that we were all sad enough to see you. Obviously we're happy for you opening the brewery, but speaking for the players and your peers, I think we're all like, man, we're not going to see him. Like, he's too good. Like, it's hard. It's hard to see, because from our perspective, it's like, man, he just won the Green Mountain. Like, man, he's so good still. And it feels weird to be like, well, yeah, he's just kind of going to be gone. But yeah, I'm super happy that you got that gig, and the fans can still hear from you, because it's blowing up right now. Like, how many people are tuning in, and they definitely are having a richer experience for benefiting from your expertise and all the years you put in, and what you can bring to their knowledge of what they're seeing when they're watching the best players in the world.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I say it's in a vacuum, because, you're saying it's blowing up. I mean, I really have no idea. I just get in, I put the headset on, and I am playing right along with those guys, every shot for shot. And it's almost more difficult than playing a round, because if I were to play a final round in a lead card, sure, there's all the stress of winning the tournament, playing against the best players in the world, but I'm only throwing my shot. I don't have to care about what they're doing. But when I do the commentary, I got to think about all four players. And I mean, I am moving around. I can't stop moving. I'm throwing ideas. I'm playing the numbers game, and I really have a passion for it. So it's been a lot of fun. There's always the naysayers. Of course, I never hear about any of that. It's always Jamie or somebody telling me, oh, these people, we need to say this better or say that better. But at the end of the day, I'm just passionate about disc golf, and I want to do the commentary as long as I'm needed. And when we get the real big boys and the real pros who know how to talk right, we'll get them in there sooner or later. But until then, I'm going to stick with it, and I hope you do too.
I'm angling. I'm trying to get my ducks in a row to get to work with you one of these days. So we'll see. I'm gonna see what I can do. I'm gonna be on the phone.
Happen.
I'm gonna be pulling strings, trying to get in there so we can work an event, because I think that would be really fun.
Hey Nate, anytime you want to work an event, you just let me know. I'll be there with you, dude. I mean,
Let's do it.
And I gotta say this. We should talk about this just briefly. The difference between post-production and live it's a big transition. I've done some post-production, obviously nowhere near as much as you and Big Germ and Yuli and the crew that's doing that, but live is so different, because you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, for the most part, post-production, you kind of know to, you don't know it exactly, especially if you're not at the tournament, but live's fun, man, but what do you think right now between post-production and live? Do you like them kind of being side by side the way they are? I'm just curious about that.
I think yes. I mean, I like the options that our fans have right now. I like to see live growing, and I think it's getting a lot better. And maybe we're finally getting the numbers that it makes sense to spend the money that live costs, because maybe the viewership is getting there. And I think for a while that balance wasn't there. And we're trying to make live happen because we want to grow and we want to be a big time sport. But maybe, that's how it works. You come in a little early, you got big dreamers trying to do it, Disc Golf Planet and all that stuff from back in the day.
Right.
But maybe then you only have 2,000 viewers or less than that. And it's like this production costs $60,000. And, it's a tough balance. But I like the options that our fans have now. And I totally agree that they're a different animal. I've done a little bit of live stuff. I did a little USDGC, and then even though it's a post-produced video in the end, like a Champs versus Chumps is kind of a live thing in a way too, because I'm just like walking and talking as it happens, on site. But yeah, I mean, I would say, to your point about like knowing what's going to happen, but for me and Germ, I would say the post production is the less I know what's going to happen, the better, the more fun I have. That's for sure. And the better I know the course. I want to know the course so I can speak honestly and informatively about like what is the pitfall and what's the challenge here or whatever. But like the more I don't know that like this guy hit chains on hole 15, like I might know that or I might not. But when it's a true surprise, that's the most fun because then it's an organic reaction and you're excited and everyone's excited. The fans are excited as they're watching it. But yeah, I totally agree.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think I do think it's great, and of course like I said, all this is in a vacuum for me. I have no idea where it's going to go, but I'll tell you this: there's been so many times, like for example, like I've never played Waco in a professional tournament. I've been to that area. I haven't even been to that course. Jonesboro, I have never been to Jonesboro. I've never played that course in a tournament, but watching you and Big Germ commentate on those places has helped me prepare for what I'm doing on my side of things. So, I think it's great to have those resources, even for a guy like me that is going to go and do live commentary. So it's pretty cool to kind of have the both of them. For me as a commentator, I just love living on the heartstrings of the players and kind of seeing where it's going to go.
Yeah, man, let us know. Maybe we can cut you together just like a whole preview package. If you ever have a course you don't know, and we'll just cut it right out of the Jomez video, and we can send over just like 1 through 18. You have a little crash course to what the holes are actually like. It's often hard to tell, the real shape of something just through video. I find like I don't enjoy commentary quite as much when I don't actually know the course because I just always in the back of my mind is like, am I saying something dumb right now about like if that's OB is actually a problem or if that hill is steep as it looks, And once you've been there and played it, then obviously you're kind of an authority figure there, and you can believe what you're saying as you're saying it.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, calling a tournament like the Memorial, of course, it's pretty wide open, but it's like I've been on every part of every fairway on those courses, good, bad, good or bad. But a place like Waco, especially when you're in the woods, I mean, to call that is so tough. And then certain courses the video gets a little choppy here and there. But yeah, man, honestly, at the end of the day, I really love it. I hope the fans are enjoying it, and more importantly, I hope the players are enjoying it. I will say this. I never went back and watched videos, certainly the ones I was a part of, because it was kind of like I always wanted to be looking forward. But I do my best job I pretend like I'm speaking to the player when I'm doing this commentary. And I hope they're going back and looking at it and go, oh, maybe I could have done it that way, or whatever.
Sure.
And so yeah, it's been fun.
Sweet.
Nate, as a fan, I've got to ask. I heard you say, disc golf was really starting to wear on you, and to the fans that aren't out there doing it professionally and touring, it might sound like something crazy to hear, right? Because we get out to try to play as much as we can. We know you're not getting flack at home from your wife. She's got disc golf going through her veins. So what exactly do you mean when you say it was starting to wear on you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I want to be very clear that my passion every day when I woke up was still to go out and play a round of disc golf. It wasn't that I didn't want to even go to the course, and had it ever got to that point, I certainly would have made a change right away. I think what started to wear on me was my own personal expectations. Every time you step up to the first tee on any tournament, you just want to win, and you just want to do as best as you can. And as the younger players started to get better, that stress level became more, it ratcheted up more and more and more. And, being a competitive athlete, everything is scar tissue, whether it's good or bad, right? Whether you won the Super Bowl, you threw the final touchdown, or you lost because, you dropped that last catch or whatever. It's all scar tissue. And the scar tissue for me started to really wear, in all the wrong places. I couldn't get over the fact that I just wanted to win. I mean, for all the fans out there that don't know, I have over double the number of second places as I do first places. So think about that. I mean, I have somewhere in the realm of about 40 wins, roughly. Obviously, everybody knows the 4 big ones that I have. But I have taken second place to every great player that has almost ever lived in the sport of disc golf from about 1990 to 2020 at this point. And that starts to wear on you after a while. Sometimes you get afraid. You get afraid to walk to the first tee because is this going to be another great weekend where I just fall that millimeter short and take that second place and got to go shake the hand of the champion. And again, at the end of the day, I loved doing all that. I would not trade anything in my life for any one of those second places or any one of the firsts or lasts or 15ths or 20ths. I absolutely loved being an athlete, and I got to live out a dream. But it wears on you after a while. And I think what I want to say to all the young people is use this. Understand that being a professional athlete is about time. And learn from Nate Sexton. Nate still has a love and a passion for the sport that is next to nobody of our generation. And it's because of the way he looks at it. He's always trying to get better and trying to better himself as an athlete, as a competitor, and simply as a disc golfer. And that's something that I lost for a little while. And it took about a year for me once I had left. I played my very last tournament was the 2018 Missoula tournament and the Zootown Open. And it took me about a year after that to really process all of that, process what my career had been, what disc golf meant to me. And now that passion for disc golf is right back where it was 25 years ago.
The thing that strikes me too, I think, is just as you're saying all that, is just that I think it's a different expectations are a huge thing, and I don't know that. Like I've been fortunate. I've had a great career. I've been a great player. I don't know that one time in my career on the national stage, I don't think I've ever been the favorite. So it's like I sort of start to think, everything I win is gravy, and but I feel like you come in as Nate Doss, 3-time world champion, right off the heels of that stuff. I feel like that's a little different mental battle to fight when it's like, second place is disappointment. And I'm disappointed in the moment as I'm taking second place, but like the next day I'm like, second was awesome, on the national stage. And it's not like, I'm not far out. If I'm outside the top 10, I'm not far outside the top 10. I've been a great player for a long time, but I've never been a number one, and I think there's a difference there.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, and you know what, Nate? This as much as I do now. Of course, we're in our elderly age now, but of 35. Every athlete's a little different. I think for me, being the expected winner, that never really bothered me because there was nobody out there that was going to judge Nate Doss more than Nate Doss. I'm my own worst enemy.
Sure.
And I think a lot of athletes are. And I think the ones that can accept that, that's a possibility and just kind of move forward are the ones that are going to be the most successful in the long run. And I think I did an okay job of that. But yeah, sometimes it just felt like it really did feel like a job. And I think to finally answer Jared's question, the difference between doing this for a hobby and doing it for a job is that everybody has bad days at work. And ours just happens to be nowadays, and not even so much for me anymore, but for our top players in front of a camera. And when your bad days in front of a camera, it can wear on you. So, I am thoroughly impressed with what we have in professional disc golf now. I think it's, we're all blessed to see these players. They all handle themselves so well. It's just been a real honor and a real pleasure to see it all develop.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I heard you throw that in there, and I had to ask. And it was an amazing answer. Got really, really a little heavy there for a second. So I think this could probably be an ideal time, and it's going to be an interesting version this week. Whenever we have a guest from the tour on, I like to play a little game with them, and it's called You or Nate. But I guess in this case, you guys are both Nate. So I guess maybe it's going to be something like, who is more likely, which Nate is more likely to? So you want to have a little fun and play a quick game here with us, Nate?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
A couple fun topics for us to debate. It's time to play. It's You or Nate.
Okay. Which Nate is more likely to go in the drink after a disc that found some water?
So do I go first, or does Nate go first?
No, this is just for you.
Oh, this is just for me.
You always go first.
Yeah, this is
okay.
But I'll argue if I don't agree.
I got it. Okay. I'm gonna say this Nate. Well, I'm gonna say Doss.
All right.
Sexton wouldn't throw it in the water.
Do you remember that time at Ledgestone when me and Paul jumped straight out of the truck and we were like, "Oh, there's Doss on the hole one. Like, wait up!" And I just threw three straight, my best three destroyers straight in the water. Got in town.
I do
and
remember that.
I remember you on the other side, like, no, not again.
I'm like, stop.
I got out of the truck and I wanted to warm up, but I was like, oh, no, I want to catch up to him. It's all good. I can do it. And then I just went water, and then I got mad, like, come on, man, water. And then water again with my three destroyers, and then was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. Now I need to go back to the box and find some new ones. But yeah. You might be right. I think neither one of us is that likely to in the scheme of things. I feel like both of us are pretty comfortable switching discs around in the bag, but yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being more likely. That's fine. I've gone swimming for a few. I'll admit it.
Nice.
And there's nothing wrong with it. All right, Nate. Which Nate would survive longer in the zombie apocalypse?
I'm gonna say Sexton, because Nate's a pretty smart dude, and I think he would come up with a lot of interesting ways to. Is this like a zombie apocalypse, like The Walking Dead? Is that?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't grow a thing if I had a plant that had already vegetables on it. So I'm going to say Nate Sexton on this one.
You could get all those zombies drunk, though.
That's true. I would certainly know how to ferment a beer. That's for sure.
All right, so that's another one. Okay, so if we threw you guys out on the course on a mic'd up round, who's getting bleeped more in post-production?
Oh, this is an easy one. I know Nate will agree. It'll be me, Nate Doss. I've had to hold back just throughout this whole interview because I speak in cursing most of the time. Yeah. I don't think I've heard Nate curse that much.
Agreed.
Yeah.
No, I've never heard it. So, are you guys both familiar with the YouTube show Hot Ones, where they eat the hot chicken wings?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's really good, but
yeah, they go through the interview.
10 hot wings with a celebrity. Yeah, and he asks a question with every wing, and it gets hotter and hotter and hotter until it's insane. And it's actually really cool because it kind of like humanizes these celebrities because they're going through hell, like eating these wings. And by like the 8th and the 9th question, they're like all their defenses, and they're like, I'm a celebrity and I have to say this is gone, and they're just like answering super honest, and it's really funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if we had you two on there, who's making it farther? Who's going to make it to that 10th insane wing?
God. Well, Nate, I don't really know your hot tolerance, so I can't really guess. I think I would make it till about the 6th wing. I've tasted I've like eaten some hot food, but I've learned my lesson that hot food is just not worth it. But I think I'd make it to the 6th wing, maybe the 5th.
I think
6th wing.
See, I got an advantage here because just for Christmas, and this was kind of like a weird gift because it was technically for my wife, but it was kind of because I was curious. I got her sauce number 1 and sauce number 5. So I can say for sure you could make it past 5 because I find 5 like it's not that bad. But I think 10, judging from the way the celebrities act, I think I'd be hating my life around number 8. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like a super spice loving guy. I think we should try it. I think we should get the wings lined up, and I think we should go head to head, and we should figure this one out for real.
When we do commentary together, we'll do that. We'll do that
Yeah.
that weekend.
Yeah, during the round, live.
During the show. Yes.
Certainly will make it interesting. Okay, now, Nate, you're a guest here on Running It with Nate Sexton, but get you guys out on the course. Who's actually going to run it more?
These days, Nate, I'm laying everything up. Most of the rounds I'm playing, I am laying stuff up, man. I can't make putts if I was, if I had the basket right next to me. But I don't know. Probably at our peak, I would say I'm running it more. But Nate's probably making more of them.
I think that's fair to say. I think I don't. It's a hard thing to like say anything about anybody's game in the 1040s. Like clearly Nate Doss is like as good a putter as you've ever seen if you're listening to this show. But I would say he didn't win those worlds. I feel like when I think about Nate Doss, he's a driver. He's a pinpoint driver more than anything.
Yeah, I would have to 100% agree. For a long time, people would say, and you would hear that. Like I would never say it about myself, but you would hear people say, "Oh, Nate, you're the best putter in the world," and I'd say, "No, I'm not. I'm the best upshotter, or I'm the best driver." I mean, anybody of our skill level or above should be making 15 to 20 footers almost every single time, and that's for the most part what I did. And so I do think overall that Nate Sexton is a much better putter, especially from distance. I mean, in the last 5-6 years of my career, I would go multiple tournaments without making a 45-footer. And I know, Nate, you were making those more often than that.
Yeah, hopefully. I honestly, I think I'm similar to you in that my calling card is more my accuracy with the driver. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I can sleep at night thinking I'm a little more effective from 45-50.
Me too.
Now, you guys talked a little bit about safe shots earlier and calling it up for a layup. I got to ask you guys as a fan, something that I've always thought about and talked about in my group of friends. When you're out there playing on the tour, there's some amazing shots that get thrown that people take just some crazy lines and some crazy routes. And the first thing I think to myself is, without all of those eyeballs out there, the spotters and the cameras and everybody there on tour, like, there's a real good chance that disc gets lost and never gets found. Does that ever come into play where you're like, hey, I could just launch this, and if it drops into those woods, one of these 200 people out here are going to be able to see it, and I'll find my disc, no problem?
Well, sure. I don't know that people are doing that like as a strategy, but I would say there's way less lost discs on the lead card than there is on the fifth card. Like the lead, it helps to have a ton of eyes down there by the basket.
Yeah, I a million% have to agree with what Nate said. I would also say from being, in that world, I never thought about it. If there was ever a chance of me losing a disc, I probably wouldn't do that shot because, well, what's a penalty stroke versus a disc that you know and love that's gone for the rest of the tournament or the rest of the season? It really doesn't make any sense. But I think, Nate, you're absolutely right. On that lead card, there's certainly less lost discs because, A, the players are playing the best of the tournament, and they're not off the fairways that often, but also a lot of the fans out there.
Fair enough. Now, outside of my question, Nate, when you agreed to be on the show, our host, Nate Sexton, posted on social media that we were going to have you on, and wow, did I get bombarded with questions and emails. And if you don't mind, we'd like to go ahead and take some of these fan questions and get some of your responses.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad that people still want to know what's going on here in the old Doss household. So yeah, fire away.
I'm telling you, the response was huge. Like, so many people commented that you were their favorite disc golfer, and they started watching because of you. I mean, it was really big.
Wow, I'm glad there's no video on this because I'm blushing.
Okay, so Zach from Instagram wants to know, what was more exciting for you, seeing your name on a beer or your name on a disc?
Ooh, well, I'm gonna definitely have to say disc in this one, because most of the time my name was on a beer. It was because I was the one who said put my name on there. And with a disc, it was because of a lot of other people making decisions to say that Nate Doss's name should be on a disc. I'll never forget, but minus the Terry Miller disc golf guy giving me a disc at the end of Worlds. When I got the very first mock-up of the Nate Doss Avenger logo, because the Avenger in 2005 was the disc that essentially won me the Worlds. I threw that disc almost off of every tee, and it was our long-range driver at the time. They sent me the mock-up. I almost cried. And then when I got that first box of 25 Nate Doss Avengers, it was pretty freaking cool. But I will also say that the first time we had Bevel Craft Brewing or my name or Val's name on one of these canned collaboration beers with Fiddlehead, that was a pretty prideful moment too.
I can imagine both would be pretty sweet. All right, now I gave you a nice, easy, soft one there, and we're all friends here, but would I really be doing our listeners any service if I didn't ask, because the question came in 140 times. Are we going to see Nate Doss play professional disc golf again?
Well, before the show,
we're running it, Nate. We're running it, man. I'm sorry.
Man. No, I love it, and I knew that one was coming. I even mentioned it, when we were talking a little bit before the show, and what I could say to certainly to all the fans at home is that the passion for playing is not lost on me, but also the passion for doing commentary. When it comes to disc golf, the passion for doing live commentary for me is up there. And I love it. The one joke I always make is I'm always on the lead card. You're always right there with the best players in the world. I'm gonna answer that question as a 70% chance no and a 30% chance yes. We'll see where Bevel takes me. Takes my whole family, Val and really the whole Bevel crew. I mean, if you work at Bevel, you're a part of the family now, and we'll see where that takes us. But I think there's a 30% chance that I'm playing. Now, I think the bigger question is do I think I'd be anywhere near one of the cards that I'd be commentating? I think that's about a 95% chance no. I mean, I could probably play the tournament and
not with that attitude, Nate.
I could probably play the tournament and still commentate. I'd be done so early. Look, the players out there these days are so good. They're so impressive. And each tournament that goes by, it's making me want to do it less and less, and just call out what they should be doing. But hopefully one day I'm playing. Certainly a tournament like the USDGC, being a previous champion there, or a world championship, an event like that, or playing some of my favorite events like the Beaver State Fling or the Masters Cup. I think certainly I'd love to play those events again.
And we'd love to see you play those events again. Now, Jake from Instagram says, who is the greatest player of all time, and why is it David Feldberg?
Well, nice little jab there at Dave Feldberg. Here's how I'm going to talk about this. I think we have to talk about it a little bit. I'm going to use a sport like basketball, which is a sport I played in high school. I went back and coached 7 seasons at my high school that I played at, and it's a game that I love. A guy like Bill Russell. Now, we could talk, LeBron James is great, Michael Jordan. These guys are competitors unlike any other. But imagine Bill Russell. I mean, Bill Russell won 11 NBA championships, half of which he was the head coach of the team. Imagine what that guy is like and what it must have taken to do something like that. It was really unprecedented, obviously, and in my opinion, Bill Russell is the greatest player of all time. But I think LeBron James and Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and players of that alike are all right there on Mount Rushmore with Bill. And I think that's how we have to talk about disc golf a little bit. Ken Climo is clearly, in my opinion, and you know what? I want to be fair to all the listeners out there, especially the female listeners. I'm really, in my opinion, I think Elaine King is by far one of the greatest champions disc golf has ever seen. And if anybody knows Elaine, what she's been able to do over all these years is really incredible. But I'm not going to really talk about women's players because I could do this same talk with the FPO side as well. And I just have to throw it out that Paige Pierce is an incredible athlete and what she's doing is amazing. But Ken Climo is unlike any other person you're going to have ever met. And when you talk about winning 12 world titles, how can you even quantify what that means? 12 years of his life, and it started in 1990, and he won his last one in 2006, which I gracefully choked up to him there in the semifinals, although he did play fantastic in the rain there in Augusta. That was I was going back-to-back, Kenny, but the 12th one was awesome. It's really impossible to quantify what that means, and I think clearly Ken Climo is the greatest Frisbee thrower from a perspective of disc golf of all time. And I would put him in that Bill Russell range. Now, he might want to say, hey, I'm, Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan, but, it's impossible to quantify what he's done. He dominated unlike any person will be able to do. But I think when we talk about, and Jarett, go ahead. I want to hear what you got to say.
Well, I just think it's great that you brought up the Bill Russell analogy, and to play devil's advocate, a lot of people say that if Bill Russell played in a time when there was better competition for him at the center position a few years later, maybe he doesn't have that same run and win all of those championships, and that a lot of it was advantage in size and the way the game was played. Do you think that a peak Ken Climo competes the same way and dominates as much in today's game as he did back then?
Well, fantastic bring up, and I think that was a great devil's advocate because it's a little different. It's tough. We just had an article come out in Ultiworld that was sort of comparing all these players, and it was all based on numbers. And is that a fair argument for Bill Russell? I don't really know if it is or not. Is it also a fair comparison, Ken Climo to Paul Macbeth of the current age, because of the discs that they threw, of the holes that they played? I mean, Ken Climo won multiple world championships. He played courses that didn't even have par fours on them. We're now playing courses that are mostly par fours and par fives. So it's hard to go down that road. And I just want to say that I think Ken Climo is by far the best player of all time. But I will say this, and I've known Paul from 2005 till now, Paul Macbeth that is, and he is an incredible disc golfer. He is an incredible competitor, and the only person that even compares from a competitive attitude is Ken Climo, and I think those two guys are on another level. And Paul Macbeth dominated by winning all the majors in 1 year in an era where he had so many players that could have taken any one of those from him. And it was, I think, what year was that? I can't remember it right now, but it was that year that he won all of them.
15.
Anyways, yeah, 15. It was 15. And I competed
2015,
in all
five majors.
I competed in all five of those. And I also was, competed against Ken Climo in many world championships. And Paul and Ken are on a pedestal of their own. So I'm not going to answer that one truly. I think they're both great, and I think they both belong on the Mount Rushmore, along with Elaine King, and then that fourth person can be whoever you think you want.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, I think that was the perfect to not talk too much about women's players, because we want to get Val. We need your wife on the show, and I think that perfect segment for her. When we have her on, we'll discuss the Mount Rushmore of women's disc golf.
Sweet. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and she would love to be on. So just ask.
Sweet.
Well, there we go. Luke from Instagram asked, Nate, when you were on tour, what was your favorite spot with the best food and the best beer?
Okay, best food by far, in my opinion, Kansas City, Missouri, or Kansas City, Kansas.
There you go.
The city kind of lies on the border there. There's a bunch of great restaurants in Kansas, a bunch of great restaurants in Missouri, but never enjoyed food more than there in Kansas City. What a place. And also disc golfing wise, from a community standpoint and a course standpoint, Kansas City, if you and your crew want to take a trip, go to Kansas City in the summer. It will be hot and humid, but you get to play some great courses. From a beer perspective, got to be the Northeast, especially in recent years. The Northeast with hazies. Now, we could get into a whole hazy IPA conversation, which we're not going to do. But there was a few breweries up in that area that just, man, were fantastic. And they made having a beer after the round a little bit better. So Northeast and Kansas City, Missouri.
Nate Sexton, what about you? Is there ever, when you look at the schedule, are you ever like, oh, sweet, we're going because I like to go to this place?
Yeah, there's a lot of places like that. One of them is Santa Cruz, where Nate is from. I remember always loving my stops there because we would have the time when I was with Paul or when I had my own RV. It would be like a time I had this little folding bike in the RV. And a lot of places you'd be at some campground and it's like next to the freeway and the course is 20 miles away. But like once we got into Santa Cruz and like a place like that where being from Oregon and there would be like some good natural food stores and some cool restaurants and I'd get to like bust out my little bike and ride around and that down by the ocean and all this stuff. That was always a cool place for me to be. And then again, I got to kind of echo the Northeast. I've really enjoyed like up Maple Hill and Green Mountain. Just the scenery is great. It's just very different feeling than the Northwest where I'm from, with all the history and like every other house built in like 18 something, 17 something, so that's just a cool place to be. So those are two of my favorites.
All right, Nate, let's get one more question out and then we'll let you go. We've taken up so much of your time, but you've had so much cool stuff to talk about. This is a question that comes up a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys both. What do you guys like to wear when playing? Is there any specific type of apparel or clothing that you are more comfortable in when playing rounds?
That's an interesting. I think everybody's a little bit different here. I mean, I grew up, it was kind of the collared shirt era, so it was always have a collared shirt. And I think that was probably a little bit left over from ball golf. But it always stuck with me, having a nice collared shirt. I think a collared shirt I look better in one anyways. Kind of covers up my my double, triple chin down there. But no, a nice lightweight collared shirt. And, the thing about it is you got to have comfortable shorts. You got to have something you can stretch out in, get that big stretch if you got to get your leg up under a bush or a tree or whatever. And then the key really for me is, now I grew up in Santa Cruz. Humidity is something we don't even know anything about, okay? But as soon as you travel over those Rocky Mountains, humidity is something that you start to learn about real quickly. And the underwear is key. Have some nice really kind of thin. I like to go with the spandex style ones that breathe nicely. Get a little Gold Bond in there, and it'll make your life a lot easier. So, kind of light and airy is, I think, the key for me.
Amazing.
He's not wrong.
What about
you? Yeah, man. I would say, the way that it's gone and, the style of a professional disc golfer now is, I think, getting kind of closer towards ball golf all the time. Even though I guess, are they allowed to wear shorts now in ball golf? I think they are.
In practice rounds. Practice rounds only.
Okay, so we're going to kind of meet in the middle, I think, eventually, because we're getting we're going towards them and maybe they're chilling out a little bit and going to let shorts in. But I would say definitely got to stick with the stretchy materials. And like when I first was playing, I mean, and Nate too, it was like basketball shorts was the thing.
Yeah.
Because you knew they were stretchy. And I always remember seeing golf shorts and thinking, oh, those are like, khakis or something. They're not going to be stretchy. But they actually are really stretchy and great. So that is important, I think, is a nice pair of shorts you can move in, a nice pair of shoes that's comfortable because you're going to be walking and you got to have the good grip and waterproofness or whatever you need. I'm always going to bring like 2 or 3 pairs of shoes with me wherever I go, so I have a couple options depending on conditions. And if you like break a lace or something, because that is really annoying. If you lose the tightness in your shoe in the middle of the round, you got to have something in the car you can run and get.
Yeah,
that's happened
especially
to me
those
more than
Adidas,
once.
those Adidas ones.
And then I got to shout out they're really comfortable and nice, but those little strings can break and you can't really save it if it's the drawstring style. And then the last thing I want to shout out is Grip 6 belt. Because I'm all about the Grip 6 belt. Like since I've tried those, I really love them. They're super comfortable, super light. And they keep those shorts up, which that's what I'm asking for.
Well, let me first of all, I need to get myself a Grip 6 belt because that's something I've seen the commercial a million times, and of course they sponsored the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship.
Yeah, you need one.
I know, I do need one. I got to get Val one too. She needs a belt.
You just send me your address, man. I'll make a few calls. I'm pretty sure I got enough clout. I can get you guys a couple belts. I feel like I can do this.
Oh, thank you, Nate. That'd be awesome. And I want to tell a story. Okay, Adidas has the pull string, where it's kind of all one string, and if it breaks, you're kind of screwed. Well, years ago, Solomon, which was an Adidas company, they had come into disc golf, and we were all wearing Solomon, so we'd have those pull strings. And
yep.
I will never forget, mine broke on the tee, hole 3 at De La. It broke on a tee, and Avery was in the group ahead of me. And I walked down, I made the birdie putt, and then there was a backup on 4's tee. There's always a backup there on number 4.
Yeah.
And by the way, hole 4, the famous one that Greg Barsby roller ace, which was impossible when he won the Masters Cup. But it's
still impossible. Just the fact that he did it doesn't mean it's not impossible.
And I was in the group of all things.
But go on.
I took second place there. That's another story for another time. But I come up and I go, Avery, look, my shoelace broke, dude. I'm screwed. How am I going to play like De La? And he goes, take your shoe off. Give it to me. Avery Jenkins, he took the lace. He tied a tiny little knot in it, pulled it real tight, went and grabbed a lighter from somebody else, one of the spectators hanging around. He burned the ends so that the knot wouldn't come undone. And so Avery Jenkins saved me there at hole number 4 at De La. So it's possible to save it, but unlikely.
That's a tour veteran right there.
You know it.
So basically what you're saying is there's really no apparel brand that you're stuck to right now. If you're an apparel brand out there, we can be reached at runningitpodcast@gmail.com. No, but it sounds like we could probably do this for 3 or 4 hours, and I'm guessing this won't be your only appearance because it sounds like you've got a lot more fun stories to share, Nate, but we don't want to take any more of your time. If there's any listeners out there that want to catch up with you, where can they find you in Bevel Brewing?
Yeah, so Bevel Brewing is in Bend, Oregon, 911 Southeast Armor, but, we all have Google these days, so just look it up, throw it into Google Maps, and it'll take you right there, but... Yeah, we're at Bevel almost every single day. I certainly am there, mostly in the mornings, and don't come bother me because I'm working. No, I'm just kidding. But once.
But seriously, don't come bother him.
But seriously, once the pandemic's over, you can certainly find me. Usually on Thursday afternoons, sitting at the bar, hanging out. We have a mug club that we call the Bevel Beer League. And Thursdays is their day. They all get a free pint on Thursday. So I like to hang out on Thursdays and chat with all the beer league members. So yeah, come visit us. It's a lot of fun.
Well, awesome, man. And we really appreciate you taking this time out. We've just had an incredible guest lineup on this show, people that have been coming out and doing this for us. And we had as much excitement about you as we did any of our guests. So the fans still love you. And I'm sure they miss having you out on the course, but at least we get you on the commentary. So it was really cool for you to come on and do this.
Well, Jarett and Nate, man, it's been a real pleasure. Nate, me and you were texting, and Oh, it might go an hour, maybe a little longer if there's any stories. Well, hey, I got stories for days. I don't mind talking. And in about 25 or 30 more episodes, when you start to run dry on some guests, call me up. We'll do it again. We'll fill another hour and a half, and we'll have some fun. So it's been a good time, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. Big thanks to all the fans, and really just hope everybody's out there being safe and enjoying disc golf. And it's a game that we wouldn't be here without. And thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah, man. Great talking to you, and I hope I get to see you guys soon.
Yeah, Sexty. And come visit us, man. Obviously, I know you guys are. Yeah, I just saw the picture of you guys playing in the snow. What a cute family. Can't wait to see you guys in person. So
Thanks.
Keep it up, man. And maybe we'll come visit you in Washington one of these days, too.
They charge sales tax there, just a heads up.
Dang it. All right. Well, I'll bring a couple extra quarters.
All right, Nate, thank you so much.
All right, fellas. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wow, that really was an amazing conversation with Nate Doss, getting to hear about not just his days playing, but kind of what he's got going on right now. It was really great having him on.
He's the man. I mean, it's not a lot of other ways to say it. He is one of the greats. Love talking to him.
Well, Nate, you've done an amazing job lining up guests for all of the fans and all of the listeners, and they've been commenting about how much they love the guests. But another comment that we've been getting a lot of is, what happened to the disc breakdown? So back by popular demand, Nate Sexton's going to take another disc out of his bag and break it down for you, the listeners.
Yeah, and we got a near and dear one to my heart today. It's the Dart. And it's a putter that Innova makes. I carry 3 in my bag right now. I have 2 in R Pro plastic and 1 in XT plastic. The XT is a little bit stiffer, perhaps slightly more overstable. So I use that a little bit more for driving or if I need a little left finish. But weirdly, this disc, the Dart, is simultaneously the best disc I've ever used for both running it, as we tend to do, and laying up, because it's a straight glidey putter. So if I'm going for it from 60 feet, 100 feet, I'm definitely using it. But also that R Pro plastic, I feel like it's soft, it's grippy. I feel like I'm very secure in feeling like it's not going to roll away. It kind of like reverbs when it hits the ground and it will sit tight to the basket. So absolutely my go-to disc for any kind of like longer putts, shorter drives through tunnels. It's one of my favorite discs that I've ever used in my whole life. So definitely give it a try. R Pro would probably be my number 1 plastic that I like it in, a little bit softer feel, but even the DX Dart is great. So if you've never tried one, I think you're really going to like it. Super straight, can go really about as far as a mid-range, so don't sleep on it. It's a quick putter, and I think you'll love it if you give it a chance.
So we've really kind of put together some awesome breakdowns of you explaining the discs and why you get them, and this is pretty much exactly what your bag looks like, right? So far, I mean, we're talking Firebird, Thunderbird, Valk, and now Dart. These are all, Nate Sexton classics.
Yeah, I mean, the Valk has kind of gone in and out, but yeah, sure. I mean, I'm talking about what I know. I'm not making any of this stuff up. These are actually the tools that I use out there that have served me the best. So yeah, the Dart, I've raved about it for a long time, and I'm going to keep doing that because I just love throwing them.
Well, Nate, we've talked about a lot of other ways that we can make this show more fun and more interactive with the listeners. And one of the things that we decided we were going to do was give them an opportunity to send in questions, but do it in audio form. So what you guys can do is, if you want to hear your question and your voice featured right on the show, asking Nate or one of our guests, record a clear audio recording and go ahead and email that to us at runningitpodcast@gmail.com. Now, guys, make sure it's a good audio recording. It's the only way it's going to make it on the show. But if you can get a good clear off your voice memos or something along those lines and get it over to us, you could hear your voice right on the show with Nate and whoever the special guest is. That's going to be pretty fun, don't you think, Nate?
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. And I think the other thing we want you to do is, when you send that email, in the body of the email, type your question out, because we want to be able to kind of hand pick which questions we're going to use. And we're a small staff over here at Running It with Nate Sexton, and we don't want to listen to every last message coming in with the audio if the question is not the type of question we're looking for the show. So do us a favor, send it in audio, but also type that thing out so we have an idea of what the question's going to be about. And I think it's going to be great. Give Jarett a break for sure. The guy's got to read all these questions. I'm starting to feel for him.
And it's more than anything that, so many of you guys are thinking along the same lines. I get not multiples, I get 20 or 30 of the same question for sure every week. So if you want to have a better opportunity of having yours picked, make sure that question's typed out in the body, and have an opportunity to have your question right here on the show with Nate or whoever our guest is. I think that's going to be something that's going to be really cool. So again, guys, that's runningitpodcast@gmail.com. The same can be said if you want to hear Nate talk about your business or event. You can go ahead and reach us at runningitpodcast@gmail.com and be a friend of the show and be featured right here. Go ahead and shoot us an email, and we'll work something out for you. Nate, I think we had another awesome episode. You lined up a great guest for us. Playoff football is going underway. 2021 is happening. It's coming fast, and we're really kind of grabbing this thing here with Running It Nate Sexton.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're picking up steam. I'm excited for the episodes coming up. We've got a lot of great ones planned.
Yeah, you guys stay tuned. You can follow us on Facebook at Running It with Nate Sexton. Nate, of course, is on Instagram at Frisbee Nate. We are on Instagram at Running It with Nate Sexton as well. And don't forget to check out our friends at FisherDiscGolf.com. Use code RUNIT10 to save 10% off your purchase. And, of course, free shipping. And pretty much like what's always going on, while everyone else is out there laying it up, Nate.
Win or lose, man, we're running it.